Today is part 2 of the series of talks that I decided to do every month. The idea is for them to be 12 and to cover those 12 7-year periods of a normal human life. So things are not going to be very person specific, but more generic. What we all should expect astrologically and in general under each one of these 7-year periods. And today we're talking about mostly the planet Saturn. I know that you may have other ideas and other things you may have read here and there about this period and not necessarily connected only with Saturn. I want to try to make my case with you why Saturn exactly I think is the planet whose function we need to all develop, try to develop. It doesn't really depend on us as much as on other people around us and the atmosphere and circumstances. But this is actually the period of life where things start getting personal for the first time in a way that the child is now a little bit able to control what is going on. Why? Because let's actually go forward so I can refer to that. Why do I think Saturn is possibly the most important function that now creates the atmosphere of this period of life? It is connected to what we spoke about last time. We were focusing on the moon from birth to age 7, and it's actually a slightly longer period. The way I'm dividing things is not that much 7-year periods as 14-year periods. So from birth until where we're going to finish today, we have a pair of planets, Moon and Saturn, acting. In the first round, it was more the Moon. And how we are being taken care of, what we are subject to in terms of the safety, the reliability of the environment in which we just happen to be born in, and all those other things that we discussed during the previous talk. And now we need to add something second to the picture. They really are inseparable, Moon and Saturn, and they show us a preparatory period of 14 years. Around the middle, when we make that transition, around the 7th year, is where they switch a little bit. So it's the moon is still active and it will keep being active throughout the rest of our lives. It's not only the first 7 years, which are lunar, but now Saturn is introducing some other things that we need to learn and some other things that we need to adapt to. I know the typical thing to say would be moon period is more to do with mother type of care, while the Saturn period is bringing in the father image, in many, many different ways in which we can imagine that father image, not only as the physical father, as a role that he plays in the child's life, but neither of these two are supposed to be necessarily played by the physical, biological mother and father. We can have other figures that enter the picture and play such a role and somehow compensate when, for one reason or another, the child is not one of those rare lucky of having a mother figure in the face of the mother and a father figure in the face of the father that not only are there and are willing to play the role, but are actually capable of doing this in a good way. My impression is that most of the time it doesn't work out, that there are problems, that there are struggles. And I mentioned last time that if something goes wrong with our adaptation in regards to lunar function, we would always seek to compensate this later in life to other functions, to other planets. And when I say planets, I don't mean this particular planet in your birth chart, but I imagine this more as one whole period under the atmosphere of a particular function that we all have in us and we all have to sooner or later concentrate on, integrate. So in every moment of life, we use all the planets in the chart and all the functions. But there are moments when, now again, due to transits, progressions, personal cycles, we concentrate more on one thing instead of another. What I'm talking about here as a first point is a bit different. it's that this whole period, 7 to 14, is in a way Saturnian, is in a way bringing us into the world of Saturn, because that's the moment in life when we need to learn for the first time how to build a foundation for the Saturnian function, in a way win it for ourselves, get it integrated for ourselves, which can then serve us later over the course of the next periods. So the Moon-Saturn pair, the mother and the father, the mother lunar adaptation was more to do with physical stuff, emotional physical stuff, the growth of the body, the growth of the emotional function in terms of its ability to sense what's going on in the environment and adapt. Here, we are getting more into the territory of social adaptation. What does this mean? The child now needs to learn some rules and regulations, how things around it function. What is this world that the grown-ups have designed, and how does it learn how to survive in that world in a good way? And here we're going to have two different forces which are putting pressure